Ladies and gentlemen, can you please work Shirley and Somerville, please?
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. I walked in at a point where you're talking about tattooing teachers, which seemed a bit random, but I'll make no comment on whether that's a good or a bad practice idea. But I'm delighted to be along today to speak about the work that's going on, and I was having a quick chat outside about what's the discussions that have been had so far, the good practice that has been shared amongst you already. So I hope you very much have an enjoyable and a productive day here at the University of Strathclyde. This is an area which is particularly important to me within my ministerial remit, but it's an area which I have a very strong personal passion on as well, and I'm delighted to be able to support the work of the Gender Action Group in the work that they're doing and that you are doing to support them. So it's very, very important that we have a think about how this conference links with what the Scottish Government is doing and wants to do within this field. And I think the conference today links into two very topical issues. First of all, there's, I'm sure I don't need to tell you, a very critical need for the Scottish education system to develop a Scottish workforce that is digitally skilled. The vast majority of jobs that we now have within Scotland need people with good numeracy and good digital skills. And we need that throughout Scotland and in every workplace. So the work that you're doing plays a very, very important part in that. So it's very, very important that we look at how we develop skills for everyone. And tackling the gender gap across all sectors is important to the Scottish economy, not because we just need it in all jobs, but because we do have a skills gap and a great opportunity for young people and for returners to work to take advantage of STEM careers and the STEM opportunities that are out there. So it's one that's very, very important to us as a government. The theme for International Women's Day earlier this month was Be Bold for Change. And when I was looking through some of the discussions that you're having today, I thought that linked very well with the spirit of International Women's Day, asking people to forge a better world, a more inclusive and a more gender equal world. So I'm sure that you share the thoughts and passions behind that, but I'm also sure that you share a great knowledge of how digital technologies provides such a huge opportunity for Scotland and for the Scottish workforce. We've got the ambition, we've got an innovative spirit, and we've got champions, companies like Skyscanner or Fanjo, that are hallmarks of a very confident and successful digital nation. And that reputation has been consolidated through things like the Rookie Oven over on the south side of the city and so many more innovations that are going on across Scotland. The digital sector, of course, makes such an important contribution to the wealth of our nation, and recent figures show it contributes about £4.5 billion to the Scottish economy and accounts for 2.5% of the overall workforce. But we do have to remember that digital technology isn't just about tech businesses, it underpins the success of so many other sectors. So for those of you who don't know already, the Scottish Government published a refreshed digital strategy last week, which we've called Achieving Scotland's Potential in a Digital World. We know that achieving that full potential is a long-term aim, but some of the necessary actions must be taken now, and very high on that list is closing the gender gap in both IT subjects at schools and within our careers. So we've taken great care to ensure that our strategy is a strategy for all of Scotland. Making the digital sector's workforce more gender balanced and more inclusive is an essential part of that. And it's no secret that the Scottish Government's priority is of inclusive growth and education at its heart, and making sure that women have the tools that they need and, importantly, the opportunities to gain access to more male-dominated parts of the labour market and to achieve their potential is something that we take very seriously. Because not only is increasing female participation the right thing to do, but it makes good economic sense as well. The report by Napier University, which this group's work is based on, magnifies the opportunities for employers to get involved and magnifies the opportunities that the tech sector can involve if it gives women that opportunity. Only 18% of those in digital roles are women, compared to 49% in many other occupations. And with over 12,000 new people needed each year to accommodate replacement and growth, we have to ensure that that percentage not just moves in the right direction, but moves in the right direction rather rapidly. And the only way that we're going to change that trend is through ambitious initiatives like those set out in the Gender Action Plan, and by ensuring that we get young women engaged in tech from an early stage. And by an early stage, I'm not just talking about primary school, but also right back into the early years and what we're doing within our early years collaborations and our nurseries as well. So we need digital skills, and we need to extend it far beyond the digital sector in Scotland. There's a growing demand, as I said, right across the economy. Software development, design, marketing, cyber security, they're just a few of the specialisms being looked at more and more by businesses across Scotland. Many of these careers weren't even in place 10 years ago. So we need to get the message out across to young people right through those early years of education so that they have plenty of time to think and to be inspired about the subjects that they need to pick further down the line. I hope many of you saw the TV ad that was part of the Digital World marketing campaign last year. And I thought that was a great example of how we can try and inspire young women and help them realise the careers in tech are more than just about sitting behind a desk and coding. It also has to be about what you can do with technology, the problems you can solve, what you can create. And I was also really impressed to hear about the Digital Skills for Girls initiative, which the Gender Group has introduced, and how it supports teachers to introduce the use of technology in subjects such as English, the arts and music for so on, where there's more often a greater proportion of young women. I'm disappointed that I couldn't be here earlier to hear more about what the schools are doing, but I look forward to hearing from the officials that I do see in the audience about what has gone on with that, because it is very important that we do inspire young girls to engage in technology. I was delighted to meet pupils recently when I took a visit to BT for Scottish Apprenticeship Week. And I've also seen quite a few things on Twitter about Wick High Schools, for example, and their success with Apps for Good. But can I talk now a little bit about what we're doing within the STEM strategy within the Scottish Government, because digital skills forms a very, very important part of what we are thinking on STEM subjects and in that strategy. We recently finished our consultation on the approach to STEM, and we'll publish the final strategy later this year. I want that final strategy to be very action-focused, very achievable, but stretch targets. It's not just about computing subjects at school and careers in tech where there's a gender imbalance. We have a lot to do across all the areas in STEM. But I want us to build on the progress we've made through implementing the Digital Skills Investment Plan and the work of the Gender Action Group, and to ensure that we tackle the gender gap in STEM subjects at all ages and across all stages of the pipeline, and that will absolutely be critical. Not only will this help us develop a fair labour market, but it will ensure that young people have the skills they need to reach their full potential in this digital world. And it's so important that young people get that experience from a very, very early age. Last week, I published our analysis of the consultation responses from the STEM strategy, alongside a report from Young Scots on young people's attitude towards STEM. And I want the final version of our strategy to be dynamic and to be fluid. It has to be something which develops and evolves over time. I've established an external reference group to support and challenge the government as we bring forward our final version of the strategy. I also talked when we had a conference on STEM last week about the importance of partnership working between employers and schools. And I know this is something which has been on your agenda and will be on your agenda today, because that will be integral to our success to develop STEM. There has to be a lot more work done to connect that activity up better. There is a great deal going on out there. There's a great deal of good practice, but it's in pockets. It's often based on personal relationships and understanding of what's going on within your area. And that simply can't be the way that we develop young people's skills and opportunities for the whole of our education system. So I want to work with partners to develop clear criteria for quality STEM outreach and engagement, both in terms of the extracurricular activities that we have, but also in the learning of the classroom. I want to make it easier for teachers to find that good practice and the links with employers so that they can make the most of what is already happening and the most of the enthusiasm that is most abundantly out there within employers to get involved within our schools. So we'll work with schools and employers to connect them in a much more systematic way. The successful introduction of the Digital Extra Fund through the Digital Skills Investment Plan has shown us that this is the right approach, and I'm delighted to announce today that Digital Extra has now received official charitable status. It'll make it the first charity dedicated to supporting a full range of digital skills initiatives for all our young people, because we need to improve the opportunities that we have out there. I want to focus now on the important role of women who are already in the labour market as well, or are looking to return to work. Here in Scotland, we have a higher female employment rate and a lower female inactivity rate than the UK as a whole. But I want to see those stats about women working in tech jobs across Scotland moving in the same direction. The Scottish Government is committed to promoting and supporting flexible working practices across all sectors. We've provided £170,000 during the current year to the Family Friendly Working Scotland Partnership, which promotes the development of family-friendly workplaces using the strapline Happy to Talk Flexible Working. So it's great to hear about the best practice guides which the Gender Action Group is hoping to launch next month, and I look forward to hearing from employers responding from that very positively. Because it simply just cannot be acceptable in 2016 that women are still discriminated against or underrepresented in senior positions, including in the boardroom and in senior academia. That's why the Scottish Government will continue to champion our Partnership for Change 50/50 by 2020 campaign, encouraging organisations and businesses from the private, third and public sectors to make a voluntary commitment to work towards gender balance on their boards by 2020. And I also think it's very, very important that we bear in mind the role that can be displayed by individuals, by inspirational mentors. It's so important. That's why I was pleased on International Women's Day for young women aged 20 to 23 to be given the opportunity to be mentored by the First Minister. Through this programme, the First Minister has invited other women leaders to join her, including, I hope, many that are in the room today, to help inspire and support the next generation of women's leaders. And it's great to think that some of them might be in the room today as well. So I'd like to close just by reflecting on the title of this conference, and particularly the word together. As I said earlier, tackling the gender gap in the digital sector and the wider economy is a key priority for the public sector and for the Scottish Government. But we can only succeed in that if we do that in partnership with employers and with industry, people like you here today. You're helping designing the actions that are already taking place, and I'm grateful for that, but I know that there is still so much more that we need to do. So I urge you to make the best of the workshops that are planned for this afternoon, share the experiences that are out there, which I know you already have, and I hope you have a very successful day today. And as I said, I'm more than happy to take any questions that people have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Any questions from the floor? Hand high and clear, and who you are, where you're from, and what the question is. Gentleman at the front.
Hi, Chris Aiken, Wick High School. Obviously there's much demand for jobs in the digital sector in Scotland. What can we do to make it more attractive as a career prospect for secondary education?
It is something which is really important that we need to take action on now. You'll know that the Deputy First Minister, Cabinet Secretary for Education, has launched new pathways into education and new ways into teaching, very much still based on GTC accreditation, because we need to ensure that we're getting more people into the classroom and from different stages of life. It could be returners to work, people who have already worked in industry, to come back into the place. They bring with them, therefore, that industry and enthusiasm of a workplace. But the particular subjects that you're talking about, we do have a challenge on. You know, when you leave university with that type of degree, the world literally is your oyster when you go out there. We've tried to look at that in a number of ways. The Inspiring Teachers campaign that we're running for general teacher recruitment was very much based on STEM themes, the whole kind of messaging behind it, the types of people that were in it, was built around the STEM agenda. And we're looking very seriously at what will make people change their career choices so that they can pick teaching rather than going into something else. So I don't think it's a one-size-fits-all approach, even for STEM. I think there is a particular challenge around computing science. We're increasing the number of places for computing science teachers going through training to increase the number of those. Our challenge then is to ensure that those places are filled and to get out there. So there's a role for the government in marketing that, and I think there's a role for employers and for the sector to also encourage people to think about teaching to get into that career as well.
Thank you. Question at the back.
Especially at early years in primary, where fortunately people don't come from tech or digital backgrounds or even STEM backgrounds. How can we train and develop, give professional development to teachers and practitioners at early years so that they can be able to deliver this in the classroom?
Well, it is something that came through very strongly during the consultation process. And I think I'm right in saying you were at the event that we held with Equate when we were in the Scottish Parliament. It was something that we spoke about there as well. I was at a recent visit within Glasgow to an early years setting, and that project was entirely based on the fact that the head teacher there knew someone who worked within SSE. So that's how they encouraged SSE to come along and get involved. And since then, SSE have absolutely embraced the project. And one of the discussions we had with the SSE reps when we were there was they hadn't thought about early years. They were quite, not put off, but they were quite intimidated by the fact that we don't know anything about what we would do in early years. And that's one of the roles I think that government has, to encourage employers and those who are very interested in giving something back and inspiring young people, to get them to think not just about senior phase at school, not just about those who are already interested in STEM technology, but to get them interested way back into the early years and through primary school. So there's a role, I think, for government and for Education Scotland and others to develop an approach where we are taking the enthusiasm that's out there, but saying, you know what, see, by the time people have done their course choices, you've already lost the vast majority of young women in particular to STEM careers. So I think it's about facilitating the enthusiasm that we've got and guiding it towards a way where they can make a positive contribution that perhaps employers haven't thought about before or don't feel that they're ready to be able to take that step into an early year setting.
Okay, we're out of time, I believe. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your questions. Minister, thank you very much for taking the floor.
Thank you.